I'm Elizabeth at Literary Princess. If you are new here, welcome. I'm a 6-year PhD candidate in English literature with a focus on Victorian women novelists, and as you might expect, I love to read. Today I have the end of the year book tag for you. So I've done this tag every year since I've been on BookTube, I'm pretty sure. It's very common to have these start coming out around now. I unfortunately do not know who originated it, but it's just kind of like a classic book tag, I feel like, around here. So there are 6 questions. Let's jump in. Question number 1, are there any books you started this year that you need to finish? Yep, I am currently reading 3 books that I want to finish before the end of the year, obviously, and I'm pretty sure I can do that. So first of all is The Daisy Chain by Charlotte Mary Young. I started this in October for Victober. I'm about halfway through currently. It is the story of the May family and just all the shenanigans that they get up to and everything that happens to them. Their mother is killed, like very early on, this is not a spoiler, in a carriage accident, and the oldest sister becomes disabled from that accident. It's not entirely clear what is wrong with her, if it's like a temporary paralysis or what, but she is in bed most of the time or on the couch. And there's so many of these children. I don't even know how many there are. There are a lot of them, like 8 more, I don't know. And it's just everything that they get up to. So I'm halfway through that right now and would definitely like to finish it. Definitely before the end of the year, preferably by the end of November. The next one is one that I just started for nonfiction November. This is the autobiography of Harriet Martineau. I'm reading this as part of my dissertation research, and technically I don't have to read the whole thing, but I think I will because I really enjoyed her book Deerbrook in October, and I would like to read more from her and learn about her life. I literally just started this. I finished the introduction to the book by Linda Peterson, and now I am moving into Martineau's introduction to the book. So very, very early on. So yes, I would like to finish this in November as well. And then the third book is The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison. This is a work of fantasy. I am a little over halfway through. It is following Maya, who is the youngest son of the emperor. He is half goblin and half elf. And when his father and all of his brothers die, he unexpectedly becomes the emperor. This is amazing so far. I'm loving it. And yeah, I'm flying through it. I'll be done with this very, very quickly. Question number 2, do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? And I do. So I always say that dark academia is my go-to genre for the transition from summer into fall. And this year was no exception, but I went for a reread, largely because the book that I planned to be that transition book was a little disappointing to me. That was They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. This is a mystery thriller set on a campus featuring a professor who is a serial killer, killing the worst men on campus, and then also the parallel story of a girl in the freshman class and her difficulties her first year. It was dark, but it wasn't, to me, it was not dark academia. There was not enough focus on the academics for this to be dark academia. So I was like, I need something else to transition because I am disappointed. And so I went back to the ever reliable Secret History by Donna Tartt, like the OG Dark Academia. This is a favorite book of mine, and this is fourth time I've read it, I think. Maybe more, I don't know. And it was perfect. I was actually gonna wait and read this in December for Remember December. However, on like October 29th, as I was walking to campus on this really cloudy, dark fall day with all of the leaves coming down and the bare trees, like, and then the tall buildings and the clock tower on my campus in the distance, I was like, I need to read The Secret History now. And so I did. And it was the perfect book to transition into fall for me and into the end of the year. It's just perfection. I love it. I love it. And it really is perfect for this time of year. Question number 3, is there a new release you are still waiting for? Nope. This always happens. I feel like my new releases tend to come out either right at the beginning of the year or in the middle of the year. So I had a few fantasy books I was looking forward to in January. Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands by Heather Fawcett, and Mislaid in Parts Half Known by Shannon McGuire, which was in the Wayward Children series. Those were in January. And then The Trouble with Mrs. Montgomery Hearst by Katie Lumsden, our very own Katie at Books and Things. That came out in July, so about halfway through the year. And honestly, I feel like I'm not very up to date with what's coming out. Like sometimes an author I like brings out a book and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was coming, which is what happened with A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher, which is a retelling of The Goose Girl, which is one of my favorite fairy tales. And I had no idea that that was coming out. That was a few months ago. So it was just like, surprise, people were talking about it. I was like, okay. So yeah, I don't think there's anything that I am aware of that is coming out before the end of the year. Question number 4, what are 3 books that you want to read before the end of the year? Only 3? I feel like I say that every year. But so I'm gonna go with 3 classics that are all on my November TBR. There we go. So the first is Princess Napraxine by Ouida. So I have been trying to read 2 books by each of my dissertation authors this year, and I have succeeded in that for 3 of them, and I have only read 1 Ouida book, although Ouida might not be a dissertation author in the end. See my Victober wrap up for that. However, I do want to check out Princess Napraxine, which is like about this, basically a female dandy who just goes around breaking the hearts of men and not caring. So I think that will be a lot of fun. The second one is Ideala by Sarah Grand. This is the first book in her New Women trilogy that I read out of order. So I've already encountered Ideala as a character in the Beth book, and then I think also in the Heavenly Twins. So I'm just gonna go back and read that. So this is about a woman who makes a bad marriage and then is trying to kind of figure out how to get on with life after that and separate from her husband and be an independent woman. I really like Sarah Grand, and I do want to finish this series, and it's also like only 200 pages apparently. So it really shouldn't take me that long, and I should just pick it up. And the other book is actually in French, and this is The Stranger, or L'Étranger, by Albert Camus. So I wanted to read 2 books in French this year. I read The Fairy Tales of Charles Perrault. This will be the second one. And I would like to at least try. I don't know if I'm actually gonna get through it because it is like, it's not one meant for people who are learning French. Like there's no footnotes and stuff explaining phrases. It's just French. So it's definitely going to be harder than the fairy tales. But I want to give it a go. I really want to try, at least, if not finish it. Question number 5. Is there a book that you think could still shock you and become your favorite book of the year? So I don't think it's going to be my absolute top book because that's pretty solid right now. However, this might end up being the second top, and that's The Goblin Emperor by Catherine Addison. I am loving this so much. I'm like, why didn't I read this sooner? It's so good. The world building is spectacular. Spectacular. Some of the best world building I've seen since... I don't even know. Really good world building. Really good. So this is definitely going to be somewhere on the top 10 list. I'm just not sure where yet because I have not finished it. And question number 6 is, have you started making your reading plans for the new year? And I started making the reading plans for 2025 in January. So I've been trying to figure out what books are on my 50 books to read list. I have a new project that I'm starting called the 18th Century Novel Project, and I've been figuring out what books for that. Which Victorian literature do I want to read? What fantasy? What everything? How many books do I want to reread? So I have a tentative list. I'm not going to give you all 50 of them because that would be actually ridiculous. However, I will go through a few from kind of each of my categories. So for nonfiction, we've got Jane Austen at Home by Lucy Worsley. I'm planning to read this in Jane Austen July. Rereads, I actually have the first 2 books in the Tierling trilogy. So this is the first one, The Queen of the Tierling by Erica Johansson. I don't remember when I read this. It was a while ago, and I'd read the second one as well and really liked it, but never got to the third one. So I want to read this whole series in 2025. So in the fantasy category, we have The Fate of the Tierling, which is the third and final book. I separate my rereads into a totally separate category than their genre. They're rereads. So this is in fantasy, but that is in rereads. I'm adding a poetry category for next year, and in here we've got the collected poems of Sylvia Plath, which I just bought recently. Very excited to continue my Plath era. For general fiction, we've got Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. I've heard such amazing things about this book, and I'm really excited. My mom is actually watching the TV series right now, and she's enjoying it too, so I'm excited for this one. And then for that, we also have The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry, which has been on my TBR for ages, and I need to read. For some Victorian literature, we have Our Mutual Friend by Charles Dickens. I'm pretty sure this is his last finished novel. He also had The Mystery of Edwin Drood, which is unfinished. But I've heard such amazing things about this, especially from Katie at Books and Things. So I'm excited for it. And I haven't read Dickens in I feel like a really long time. So I'm excited to get back to Dickens. And then I also have The Return of the Native by Thomas Hardy, which I started a really long time ago and need to get back to. And again, I've heard amazing things about this. For my 18th Century Novel Project, we've got Mary and Mariah by Mary Wollstonecraft, and I probably also will read Matilda by Mary Shelley just since it's in there, although that is 19th century, not 18th century. But again, it's short and it's in there, so I'll probably just do all 3. And then also The Vicar of Wakefield by Oliver Goldsmith. Nice and short. And in my other classics category, which covers everything that is not 18th century or Victorian, we have Stoner by John Williams, which is an American classic from the 20th century, I am pretty sure. I've heard amazing things about this from Alana Estelle and a few other people, though I can't remember who else, but it's come highly recommended, and I'm really looking forward to it. That's a little sneak peek at my 2025 reading plans. There will be an entire video going through all 50 of the books that I want to read and talking about each book I'm reading for the 18th Century Novel Project, but that will be coming out in December. So that is my end of the year book tag. I'm not going to tag anyone because I think the people that do this tag usually just do it anyway. However, I would love to hear down in the comments below, what are your answers to some of these questions? Have you read any of these books? What did you think of them? If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see more of my bookish content. It has been great chatting with you. I will see you soon. Bye.